Welcome back to the Yankee and the Brit. I know Maddie just loves that fucking chant, so I figured we'd start it because we have World Cup fever in the U.S. right now. It's taking over every sports show you turn it on. It don't matter if it's basketball, baseball, football. They're talking about soccer, Maddie, in the U.S. They're talking soccer.
Yeah, none of them have a fucking clue what they're talking about, which is
Well,
great.
there is some. I wanted to kind of do a rundown of what the show will be for everybody. So we had a few topics like Christian Pulisic, the best player on the planet.
Oh
What
my
makes
god,
Christian Pulisic so great?
he scored one goal. Holy
Does
shit.
Team USA have the best D in World Cup history? Yes, definitely.
No.
And how happy are you that the United States is going to win the World Cup? That's the breakdown. Okay, I'm kidding, guys. That is not the breakdown for the show. But that's how excited we are. And people can say what they want. And yes, Netherlands, tough team. Have not played up to the way they should right now. They're not looking like the Netherlands team everybody expected to see in the World Cup. The U.S. has not let a single goal scored during regular time, just a penalty kick. D'ing up monsters. Yes, we need more help from our nine, and our midfield has to play great against the Netherlands, but everybody's going to stop doubting us. And you can say what you want, but as a defensive team, that was Christian Pulisic's World Cup moment, and he took a shot to the balls that was bad.
Yeah, I guess scoring one goal makes you just the fucking best player to ever have played the game, right? And
No, when you
that's
have
just what
that,
happens.
you don't need a ton
Yeah,
of goal scoring. That's how we play. Young,
yeah.
coming into their prime, team that's just finding themselves. Reminds me a little bit of, should I say it, the 1980 Miracle on Ice? Oh, teams kind of remind me of each other. Unexpected young team finding their own. You guys better watch it. We're going back to back. We're taking it this year and bringing it home on our home turf next year. Oh,
Yeah, I
and Maddie,
mean,
just a little weird World Cup thing I found out. U.S., Canada, and Mexico all guaranteed a spot in the World Cup next year. Don't even have to qualify.
which is crazy.
I
I
thought
know
so
it's
too.
because you're all hosting it, right? And if that's how that joint thing works, it's just kind of a robbery for everybody else in your competition. But I
Well, we don't
suppose,
have to worry because we're the best over here.
yeah, you are from the weakest. You are from the weakest spot of football in all, so it doesn't really matter. Like the only place where it would matter less is if you were in the Asia qualifying group, where Qatar managed to, and
I did see
Qatar
all
got
those
out.
reports out of England how England was just going to smash the U.S. and beat them by 4 goals,
Mm-hmm.
and we should have put them away. We fucked that
Yeah,
up. We should have put them away
yeah, but you didn't because you can't score goals because that's just the way. That's the
because
way you
they're
play.
young and coming to their own. But you only have to score more than the other. So if you can't score, you can't win.
Yeah, you played against a horrendous. You played against a horrendous Wales team, who Wales this year. This was one step too far for Wales. They found the occasion too big. First World Cup since 1958. The occasion
Wait,
was too big for them.
you
Eh,
just said that doesn't happen in football, but now it happens in football.
No, 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 no. The occasion being too big is a bit different to getting up for one game and then being completely down for the next. Like I wasn't saying this is. I rewatched the thing from last night and from last week and I fucked up my point so badly in the
Okay, fair
morning.
enough. Fair enough.
What I meant was by the Vikings game is it's not a difference in what was the score difference in that Vikings Cowboys game? 37 points or something like that. It's not a difference in it doesn't make that much of a difference. But
So
to
when a team gives
yeah.
all out in game 6 and then gets blown out in game 7, which happens
Yeah,
all the time,
I just
you gave everything
basketball
you
is a
had
weird
to win
sport to
that
me.
game, and then you have a hard time getting over that game. So all week of preparation, you're not as energetic. You're thinking about the game. Oh my God, I can't believe that went that way. Like that's just the biggest sports thing ever.
Yeah, 37 points differential in football doesn't happen that often. In basketball, you stop, like, if the game's too far away, everybody stops playing after the fucking fourth quarter, so it doesn't matter. And I guess that's what
And
happens in
everybody on the Vikings was on the bench in
football
the
as well.
fourth quarter.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with
I
you.
feel like you're trying to give your Cowboys more credit without making Wales take any of the blame.
I'm actually trying to give your guys more of a break. I think my main point of the whole Vikings loss was you suffered injuries in key positions that turned that into a matchup for the Cowboys that favors them. Because we were very even coming in when Christian Darrisaw was there. As soon as Christian Darrisaw gets injured, like, there's an immediate weak spot on your line. Kirk Cousins can't get the ball away fast enough. That's what I was getting around to. And I don't think the emotional side makes a difference that much. However, Wales conceded one goal against the US because, and we were better than you in that game as a whole. But the first half, the occasion got to them. It was too big. Every touch was a little too hard. Every pass was a little too far.
Well, what happened
They
against
sold
England?
out. England are way better than Wales.
Well, then
England are
the
way
U.S. should
better
have
than
put
Wales.
England away,
Yeah,
which
well,
means
they played.
England's better than Wales.
Well, no, we wouldn't have put even if we put England away, which we wouldn't have, because England are way better than
Yeah, you had
Wales.
to win by 3 or 4 goals or something
Well,
crazy.
no, yeah, we had to win by 3 or 4 because we conceded 2 goals to Iran in the 109th minute and the 111th minute. The games are 90 minutes long.
Yeah, I don't like your guys' clock on there anyway. But
I
that's
don't
a
understand
different
why they don't
story.
stop the clock. I don't understand why they don't do that. It makes no fucking sense. It means that you're playing games that are fucking 15 minutes longer.
Well, we'll move on to some American football, but
Yeah.
Captain America.
Yeah.
All right. That's not even an argument. That's Captain America.
He is Captain America.
All right.
100%
So
right.
I was going to say, we can't, argue
Yeah.
that. But Maddie, let's start this off talking about with some weird shit in the football news this week. Let's start with the Cardinals. So you have Kyler Murray throw Cliff Kingsbury under the bus, back the bus up and run him over again, blaming Cliff Kingsbury for everything that's going on. And then you have Patrick Peterson, who I think it just slipped out of his mouth if you watch the podcast. And if he could have taken it back, he would have. But I think he meant it when they say that he says, well, Kyler only cares about himself. I think if Patrick Peterson could redo that, he wouldn't have said it. But since he said it, he's owning it. And, and then you have Larry Fitzgerald, who's the nicest guy in the world, praise Colt McCoy. And then when it comes to Kyler Murray, just shut up.
Yeah, I think the Patrick Peterson incident is a whole talk about whether it's in your best interest as a professional footballer to have a podcast running while you're still playing.
I don't have a problem with what he said if he really believes it. Zero problem.
I think it just takes away. I think it creates distractions and brings news around you where you just don't need it to be there. Like the Kelsey brothers, for their podcast and the way they do it, it's fun and it stays away from any major topic. Like you just never feel like they're gonna slag anybody off.
So they're scared.
Too much. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's professional. It's you shouldn't really be creating unnecessary attention during the middle of the season. I have no problem with.
They always want athletes to speak the truth until they speak the fucking truth. So you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I don't give a shit whether athletes speak the truth or not. I think it's in their best interest to not. I think it's in their best interest to. You say they. I'm sure they do, but in the athlete's best interest, it's best to go through your media training, not create unnecessary attention, not do it. Patrick Peterson's having a great season. Like there's no point of bringing this around
my argument to that, my devil's advocate to that is Patrick Peterson's energy this year has been out of this world, and I just keep that same energy. And if you letting it out on the Cardinals is what you need to do to keep that same energy, then you do that, because that's what we need from Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if he's going for that whole Conor McGregor hyping shit up style, but
See, I don't think that's what it was,
guess that's
though. I think
fine.
it was a real conversation, and he answered
Yeah,
it truly. And I've said shit on here where I've been like, oh, I wish I'd have said that differently.
is Patrick Peterson's podcast live, or has it also made it through the edits?
I don't know how they run it. I only watch the YouTube. I think I don't know, because they're on a lot of platforms. So I don't know if they're live on iHeart or Spotify or whatever else.
Yeah, it's just if they made it through, if it's also made it through the edits, if it's not live. Like, obviously, if they don't do edits and that's part of it, then that's fine as well. But if it's made it through the edits as well, it's more, it's more like, oh yeah, I'm happy that I said that. Like, yeah, we'll have that. Then you would think. But on the whole Kyler Murray thing,
I was going to say, like, we were making it more about Pat Peterson when it's really more about Kyler Murray.
Yeah. It is more about a commentary on like whether players should really have podcasts in the middle of the season whatsoever. And if you're going to slip up like that, then I personally wouldn't do it. I wouldn't run the risk of creating any unnecessary attention. However, when it comes to Kyler Murray does only fucking think of himself. It is clear that he does that. Like, and he's still a great player anyway. We don't have do many people have questions on whether Kyler Murray can make it as a decent quarterback in the NFL? Like,
no,
many people have those problems.
I actually agree with what Kyler's saying about the offense. That is where I would caution people, though. Throwing your coach under the bus usually isn't the best way to like smooth things over with teammates. Especially, there's going to be some guys on that team who really like Cliff Kingsbury, so you don't want to alienate your teammates. But I agree, if you gave that dude a coach who game planned and didn't just say this is our system and we're going to run it, and it's the same system from college, which hasn't evolved much. Patrick Peterson on a podcast when they played the Cardinals was like, they were showing mic'd up of him on the sideline, and he's telling the players what plays are coming because they haven't switched anything up from when he was there. So that's a problem. I think if you gave him Sean Payton, if you gave him even Bill Belichick, or like a good offensive coach like Shanahan, you'd see a different Kyler Murray. I think you'd see a completely different Kyler Murray, because these guys would sit him down and go, look, we did this with Drew. We did this with Jimmy G. This is why this works. This is why. And you would get an engaged Kyler. I truly believe that. I think he's burnt out at playing for Cliff for that many years with college too.
Yeah, I think being able to, I think if you've got an offense that just runs the same week in, week out, when you have players like Kyler Murray who are fucking magic, right? It's the way that Cardinals team is built as well, isn't built to keep it within the constraints of a similar system. Like, they've got so many dudes there who aren't necessarily the most gifted in terms of being traditional players in their position. So their offensive line is kind of small. However, it's incredibly fast. They've got Rondale Moore. Now, Rondale Moore isn't the most traditional wide receiver number one guy, but he does shit that other people just can't do. So why are you constraining that within your system? It makes no sense to me. And then on top of that, you've got Kyler Murray. And yes, Kyler Murray does only think about himself in a way that's actually, I find that refreshing, in terms of, I know that I'm fucked if I keep on playing in this system. I know that we're not going to win. And I need to say something. I think he's done pretty well to keep Cliff Kingsbury out of his mouth for the past 3 years. Like, I think now it's reaching the boiling point where they're not going to reach the playoffs. It looks like it's time for Cliff Kingsbury to go. You're not going to get rid of Kyler. It's time for Cliff Kingsbury to go.
I think he alienated a lot of his teammates, which is a problem. But part of that offense too is they don't move D-Hop around. They line him up one side, one spot, and they just leave him there, which there's no creativity to that offense. Yes, that shit worked in college and a little bit in the NFL but it's not the system that's working in the NFL. It's Kyler making off schedule plays that kept them winning some games, and now it's all coming crashing down on them this year.
I'm interested to see which players he would have alienated, though, in terms of like how I don't get
Any
it.
player
Like,
over 27,
yeah, exactly. I don't get how you can look at it though and be
because there's a
like
certain
how,
way you act as a quarterback, and he
yeah,
doesn't act that way.
yeah, but I don't get how you can look at that team, that how you can look at the coaching setup and not be like, do you know what? Yeah, maybe we do need a fresh start. And sometimes it takes somebody to show that they've lost the dressing room to do that. The locker room, sorry, the dressing room. Yeah, I think it takes somebody to do that. It's going to take that push to get Kingsbury out of the door that they may need.
But you go talk
Look,
to the owner. That's, I think, what the
yeah,
vet players are going to tell you. You don't do it. And I think a lot of players think he's selfish and don't like him because, like I said, Larry Fitzgerald, nicest guy in the world, had nothing good to say about him. And you got Pat Pete throwing him under the bus, and you got ex-coaches throwing both of them under the bus. So I'm just saying there's something, if you're the common denominator, at some point you got to look internally.
yeah. I also think you could look at that and think maybe they're guys who care more about personality and care more about the traditional way of doing things rather than just saying, do you know what? Fuck it. This guy is so talented. If we put the right team, if we put the right
I
coaching
wouldn't
setup
want
around us,
him.
then the Cardinals can get a Super Bowl.
We have a great locker room. I wouldn't want him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever, I don't know this for sure, but I'm betting most teams with shitty locker rooms don't win much.
Yeah. I'm see, I think that's where it'll be interesting to see where this goes over the next few weeks, whether it's people out, the old vets, like outside. I know Larry Fitzgerald's Cardinal for life, so he's probably got some insider knowledge of what's going on in the locker room and things like that. But I kind of want to know how many people in that locker room are on Kyler's side and how many people aren't on Kyler's side.
Watch D Hop's body language every time Kyler misses him on a pass. It'll tell you a ton.
Yeah. Could be diva wide receiver behavior, though.
Have we ever really called him a diva wide receiver, though, out of all the wide receivers? And I'm not even saying that it's bad. I'm saying watch those type of things and you'll start to learn. I haven't paid attention yet. Now I will. Those are the type of things that will let you know without them saying it, how your teammate, like when your teammate walks off the field and screams in your face, Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't love you in the locker room. Like that kind of shit says something about what's going on at teams, like the whole Russell Wilson and his teammates, and like there's a lot of like weird dysfunction in the NFL this year.
Yeah, I think it would be in the Cardinals' best interest to, once they get rid of Cliff Kingsbury, sit everybody down and say, right, clean slate, start again.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
This guy can win us the fucking Super Bowl if we give him the right shit around him. Let's calm the fuck down.
And he can still mature. Nobody's saying that. Maybe this will be good for Kyler too. Maybe there will be some self-reflection after all of this.
Yeah, I don't see it as a kind of Zach Wilson moment of like, oh, fuck, this guy is just so immature that it's out of the realms of possibility, like that he shouldn't be playing in the next week.
I think I have less issue with Zach Wilson than I do Kyler's comments, but that's because you dragged your head coach through the media.
Yeah, I think.
But I get what you're saying. I absolutely, maturity-wise, agree with you. Comments-wise, I
think where I'm coming from is Kyler Murray sees that he's not going to, like, they're not going to win with Cliff Kingsbury. They're not winning with Cliff Kingsbury. They've tried it for 3 years now. They're not winning. And it's a lot of it does seem to be down to coaching now. Like Kyler Murray has shown the ability to be fucking magic. Like that offense, the players that they've got on that offense it looks insane. Like the Cardinals offense on paper looks wild. And then the defense just is full of freaky people. So I think that Kyler's come out in frustration and said, look, we need a new fucking head coach. I'm going to try and get this ball rolling, see if we can get a new guy because I want to win. Whereas Zach Wilson took no accountability for anything, showing just poor posture at the stand. It's not posture, isn't the right word.
It's gonna it
poor
people are
presence in
gonna
the
get
stand.
mad at me, but he's suffering from rich white kid syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you grew up with money and you grew up everybody patting you on the back and telling you you're the greatest quarterback there ever was in high school. And now you get to the NFL in a bad team. At first was a bad team, not anymore. You struggle, then next thing you know, you can't handle any of the blame for some reason. It's that rich white kid syndrome where it's not your fault. No matter what,
Yeah.
it's not your fault because everybody's told you were great your whole life. That's what Zach Wilson's, I believe, his issue is.
Yeah, the BYU syndrome, right?
Yeah, like I just don't think, and this isn't a shot at him, and I don't want kids to like have to go through bad shit, but like I don't think he's ever had somebody tell him like you're fucking up. And now that it's happening, they don't know how to take it. You know what I mean? Whereas if you grow up, and I'm not taking a shot at his parents, I don't know his parents, but if you grow up with parents who tell you you're fucking up and friends who tell you like you can't do that, you're fucking up, you're more apt to be able to handle that kind of criticism. Unless, and then if you haven't, you turn into a 22, 24-year-old getting it from the media, and now you get all defensive instead of having the maturity to like say the right things and self-reflect, that kind of stuff. And even if you don't believe it, you got to be smart enough to say the right thing at that point. And I think it's maturity. And this is a weird league, man. You can be really talented and be out of it quick if you don't get it together at the right time.
Yeah, it's one of the craziest things about the league, I think, that it's almost like there's no second chances for guys with crazy talent. But if you're like, especially at the quarterback position, there's no second chances with guys who just have crazy talent. But there's plenty of chances out there for guys who are kind of mediocre. So backup quarterbacks were always like most backup quarterbacks in the league were always backup quarterbacks when they were in the league. Like there was always that thing of like Cam Newton makes no sense as a backup quarterback because of
it's a lot of the personality too, right? Like can they be like Andy Dalton's one of the few you watch take that step back like a gentleman and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing where it's because they've been told they're the guy. Are they able to give up that personality of being the guy? It's like, can Baker Mayfield for the next 2-3 years, what he should do is humble himself down, sit into a backup quarterback role, and work his way back in from there. But can he give up that mojo of I'm the fucking guy? Like that,
or will a team even bring you in as a backup because they're going to have to answer a ton of fucking questions?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a weird league, dude. It's a very weird league when it comes to that because the backup quarterback is asked to do so many different things by the coach. They're almost another coach for the quarterback. They're another guy to bounce ideas off of. So if you don't get along with the starter too, then it's not a good fit. And like, look at Brady and Peyton. They didn't always have the greatest backups, but they had guys they trusted what they were seeing on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like more Manning, but Brady too. I know he talked highly of like coming off talking to Brissett or Hoyer. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not so much Jimmy G, but that was a weird thing between him and Jimmy G too.
Yeah, exactly. You think of quarterbacks that are out of the league who are who have always had that incredible talent and things like that. And then you think Brian Hoyer is still in the league. That's like, or Chad Henne is still in the league. Like, I just find that so crazy about American football. It's if you're the first best, if you have the first best goalkeeper in the world playing for your team in football in the World Cup, you want the second best goalkeeper in the world to be your backup.
Any other that's sport, how it works. And any other position in the NFL.
Yeah, any other position in the NFL is what's crazy about it. Yeah. I know it's all the intangibles that come with it. You don't want to disturb the locker room and things like that. I think the NFL is a sport that cares more about, in the traditional sense, cares more about like, how are you as a guy? Like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Like, are you good around the locker room? Are you good at, like, I think in other sports, like when you look at basketball, it almost doesn't fucking matter like how you are with other people. It's just let's put the 5 greatest guys on the court and just see what happens.
I will say though, playing hockey my whole life and other sports, but hockey was my main sport. And I didn't always like everybody I played with, but when our team was close, we were a better team than years when we weren't as close. Like when we hung out and did shit together outside of hockey, we had better teams.
Yeah, I think there's like hanging out and doing shit together and like actually getting on. I think like I think sometimes the NFL gets in its way about everybody has to get on, everybody has to be pulling in the same direction. In 52 guys, sometimes it might be worth just having a Randy Moss or a Terrell Owens or like like those kind of guys on the team that aren't necessarily all pulling in the same direction if they're just that much more talented than everybody else. Like Antonio Brown, for fuck's sake, won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because they said, do you know what? Like, this guy's so talented. But I think it does make it, going back to the Kyler Murray thing, I think it does make a big difference at the quarterback position. I feel like the quarterback does have to be pulling in the same way as your coach. And as soon as that starts to go opposite directions, it's time to pick one or the other. And I think in Arizona, it's going to be the coach. And that's the best.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Cliff Kingsbury ain't making you win some games. You might win some games despite Cliff Kingsbury, but he ain't going to help you win some games where you're going to win games because of Kyler. Another odd story in the NFL, and I want to get your take on it because it's your team. And then I obviously have an opinion on this, but we have this picture of Jerry Jones back in the day with a group of people who were trying to stop segregations into schools.
Yeah, it looks like the scene from Remember the Titans. Like, if you just put it back up, that guy at the front there, he's not a high school student or a college student or something. He's a 40-year-old man, like the guy with the cigar right in the front, the cigarette right in the front.
He looks like every fucking greaser off of every like 50s movie in the US.
Yeah, doesn't it look fucking fake? Like with the camera on the side as well, like like the cameras on either side, like they look fake. Like they look like they're cardboard cutouts of 50s cameras with the guy. Like, but so yeah, I know this is a serious accusation, but just that photo just amazes me as to how stereotypically 50s it is. But yeah, I mean, so Jerry Jones is an old white dude. And how are we even talking about this, Smoke? Honestly,
I'm telling you right now, he's just trying to goat you, bro. I know it. Trust me, he's just trying to
so far. So it's 6 a.m. I've already had to listen to "I Believe That We Will Win." The US are going to win the World Cup, and now Dak blows while we're not even talking about him at all. Fuck off,
I'm just piling on now. Okay, that's Jerry Jones, but that's how we got on it. We talked about the Cowboys. That's it.
Yeah,
It was goading you. Goading you. Yes. Okay.
So when it comes to Jerry Jones in this situation, like Jerry Jones is an old white man, and Jerry Jones lived in that era and clearly had some questionable views. Now, I guess it comes down to, do you believe that people can change? And do you believe that people can just be a product of their situation? And now Jerry Jones is one of the most player-friendly owners in the NFL on a team that is mostly black. And I think that something that is interesting about the Cowboys is that Cowboys fan base is traditionally like Republican, Texas, Oklahoma, like serious red country, where I think they did an amazing thing when it was the taking the knee stuff, where they managed to marry up the wants of the fan base, right? Like I know that Jerry Jones would have taken the knee if he was running the New York teams or something like that, where the fan base is more leaning towards that kind of stuff. So I feel like, does it can a guy change his stripes, or do we hold somebody accountable to something that they did in the 50s? I think we can do both.
I agree. So for me, it's, do I think Jerry Jones is a racist? No. Right now. Do I think he harbored some racist shit back in the day? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably because of the way where he lived and the way people were back then. He probably did harbor some racist shit. Can we grow as people? Absolutely. And do people have the right to change? Absolutely. It just because you change, though, to your point, does not make you lose responsibility for your actions. And were his actions a long ass time ago? Yes. Should he be dragged for it? No. But should he have to answer for it? Yes. Which he did, which he gave probably the best out answer ever. I just wanted to see what was going on. Okay,
which
it could be.
It's bullshit.
Right.
It's bullshit. But if you look back at that photo, do you know what? He's on the edges of it, and it does look like he just wants to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like,
so, yeah, I get it. And it's a weird thing because we've changed so much since then, which it's sad that we were still that fucked up not that long ago. You know, like Jerry's still alive and that happened.
Yeah.
You know, but do I think that maybe he harbored racist shit? Maybe. Yeah, it's a good possibility. Do I think he's racist now? No. And do I think the kneeling had anything to do with race for him? I don't. I think it had to do with the brand. I think he did not want his fans getting pissed off at the Cowboys and him losing money. And I think that's all it boiled down to for Jerry. Do I think he handled it wrong? Absolutely. But for me, I don't think Jerry Jones right now is a racist.
I don't know. I think Jerry actually handled the whole situation quite well. I think he went to the players and kind of said, "Look, this is the thing."
Yeah,
between
and the players should have told him to fuck himself. But
I think they did show like a sign of like I do think they showed a sign of solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything that was going on with that time. Like everybody knew what that meant, but because it wasn't kneeling, they didn't start a riot in Texas. And like, I think that's an understandable, I think it was an understandable course of action to take. In terms of the accountability, he needs to come out and say, like, look, I fucked up. Like, it was a different time. I think people are often a product of their environment. And I think if we went through and looked at all of the photos taken of our grandparents and great grandparents and stuff, we'd find some pretty disturbing shit.
I think Jerry's answer put this whole thing to bed, and I think you're right. It was bullshit, but it was the best answer you could have gave.
Yeah, it does look like he's. If you look
at
the picture
again, how do you argue with him? You can't prove that he did or didn't, right? We have our opinions, but you can't grill him on it. It was the best answer ever because they're going to be like, "Are you sure you were just out there to look?" Like, how the hell do you even argue that?
It does look like in the picture that he's rubbernecking segregation. Like, doesn't it? Like, doesn't it? He's just like, oh, what the fuck?
It does.
He looks like a dude that's just like, oh, fuck, there's TV cameras here. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like,
I don't think anybody. I've never heard any player talk bad about Jerry Jones either.
Yeah.
Any color.
Let's just put it out there for once again for the people at the back. We both think it's bullshit and that he was there for a reason. I don't think he's a ringleader of the whole operation.
No, and I don't think he harbors racist beliefs either. Yeah. I don't. He might have back then, but I don't think he does now.
Yeah, like the amount of people that let's bring in a UK equivalent. Like the amount of people that voted for Brexit because all of their mates were doing it, and the amount of people that have been goaded into voting for Brexit and things like that because of the media and the news and the being in their own, just only being in their own bubbles and stuff like that. And the same amount of people who would now come out and be like, yeah, that was fucked up. I shouldn't have done that. Because you go around any place in the UK and you're like, oh, did you vote for Brexit? Did you vote for Brexit? Like, blah, 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 blah. Somebody must have fucking voted for Brexit, and I'm yet to have found people. Like,
no, I get what you're saying. And it's, and then I also want to bring up something that is kind of a Cowboys question. It's going to be OBJ question. But before we do that, let's get to a quick word from OTH.
What's good? It's your homie, Freezers Christ. Y'all know the deal. Make sure y'all head on over to overtimehustling.com where you can catch all the latest merch, all the newest mags, all the media, everything, know what I mean? And you can also find me on Winging It with the homies Keith G, King Dale, and Payne Gusto. And you can catch me on Turf Tales with the homie SK. And if you got nothing to do on Sundays, even if you do got something to do, make sure you tap in the Overtime Reactions hosted by the homie Cuzzo. And I cannot forget the homie Jay over there at the Yankee and the Brit channel. So make sure y'all go over there and check them out. And hey, check me out, your boy Freezes, on that Real Talk with Jay. It was a hell of an interview, yo. Gotta do it again. I keep saying it because I mean it. We gotta do it again. I had a great motherfucking time. But anyway, you know who it is. Freezes H, OTH, Yankee and the Brit, Winging It, Turf Tales, Overtime Reactions, Chronicles Podcast. You know the drill, Cush's Corner. It's a motherfucking movement. So move with it or move out the motherfucking way. Simple and plain.
Overtime hustling, we hustling overtime.
Take your ass over to the Overtime Hustling, cop the newest edition of the magazine. There's yours truly right there. Yankee and the Brit ad interview. Got an interview with Payne Gusto, Free Smoke, Little Diesel. Make sure you go get that copy of that magazine. Maddie, where do you think OBJ ends up? And is it the Cowboys? Do you think that because you're hoping it? Like, what do you really think will happen? Because for me, if you made me go put a bet on it, I think he signs with the Bills, but I don't know that for sure.
I think the amount of talk from the Cowboys organization that's come out, and Jerry saying what he said in terms of we need OBJ here and making it sound like OBJ is his number one fucking target in the entire NFL. Like, I feel like when Jerry puts his mind to something like that and makes claims like that in the media, it's happening. Like, is the way that I look at it. I think there's been a lot of talk about OBJ with the star on the side of his helmet for a long time now. Like, this isn't the first. Every time OBJ's been up, there's been OBJ wants to star in his helmet. Like, multiple people like coming out and who say, I know OBJ. He would love to be a Dallas Cowboy. And he would kind of suit the brand of like the star on the side of the helmet. I think he would be a really good fit. What I found really funny is people being like, why the fuck did we get rid of Amari Cooper if then we're just going to bring in OBJ? And it's like, because Amari didn't want to play for the Cowboys anymore. Because Amari clearly thinks that Dak blows. Like, Amari Cooper didn't want to play for the Cowboys anymore. So
Touche.
that's why that's why he's not a Cowboy right now. Like, it's not anything to do with that.
For me, it just went, if I'm OBJ, would I rather play with Dak or Josh Allen? I'd rather play with Josh Allen. Would I rather be coached by McDermott or fucking McCarthy? Well, there's that. And would I rather be lined up across from CeeDee Lamb or Stephon Diggs, which gives me more openings? And then I just think Von Miller's coming back at the end of the year, and minus the Chiefs, like, easiest path to the Super Bowl might be the Bills, and if that's really what you want. So I have this. If you're signing for 1 year, I think he goes for the Bills. If Jerry's willing to give him a multi-year big deal, then I think it's a completely different ball game. But if it's just for 1 year, if I'm OBJ, and that's the only way I looked at it, I would bet he goes to the Bills. But we should know in the next week or so.
Yeah, I think you can look at it as well, though, who's been playing the best football for the past 3 weeks. And I totally agree with you.
Short-sighted.
Yeah. So I totally agree with you. I don't think that the Cowboys are a better team.
I want to say this quick. I don't think the Giants have a chance, and I think he's just going to meet with them out of the fact that he was a Giant originally and giving respect to the team. But I don't think the Giants have a chance.
They could also be paying for his private jet to bring him up to New York, where he can go see a few old friends. Like that. I mean, I'm sure OBJ can pay for his own private jet, but you may as well do it on the billionaire's dime, right? Like, I think the way that you look at it is the Cowboys have really come into their stride in the past few weeks. The Cowboys are really
I think
on
that
fire.
I think that the NFC is a lot fucking harder path than the AFC right now.
Which is really interesting. Imagine saying that at the start of this year,
I
right?
know.
Yeah. Imagine saying that at the start of this year because of the because of the quarterback situation in comparatively in both divisions. Like if you go quarterback for quarterback, the AFC wins hands down every single fucking time, right? But the NFC, the defenses play fucking hard. It's more all-rounded, like well-rounded teams in the NFC, it thinks, rather than
If you're in the
superheroes.
NFC, you don't in the playoffs, you don't want to play the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Vikings, the Niners. Brady's probably going to be fucking in there. And let's say the Redskins or the Seahawks get in. They've been playing pretty good football too, where I feel like the AFC, it's like the Bills in Kansas City.
Yeah, I can totally, like, if that's the way that you're going from, but it's like once you get there as well, I feel like OBJ would be a bigger part of the offense in for the Cowboys as well. Like the difference in the Bills and when it comes to opening up the field, CD Lamb has had a really good season. Like
Yeah.
CD Lamb has flown under the radar in terms of like how great
He's
his season
definitely
has
a really
been.
good wide receiver.
Yeah, wide receiver 100%. Like he's really flown under the radar with how good he's been. Like, guys, if you don't believe that, then go look at his stats this season. They're incredibly impressive.
Yeah, he's definitely in the number one receivers. At worst, a second tier number one, which isn't. Yeah, at worst, because you're talking Chase, you're talking Diggs, you're talking JJ, like in that top tier, very few guys. And then, I think CD's played really well.
But then on top of that, with the Cowboys, you also have that run game that opens up the big play. You have to if you want to beat the Cowboys, you have to stop that run game first. So then if we have CD Lamb doubled, everybody's packing the box, and then OBJ on the other side, and not to mention Michael Gallup as well. Like there's going to be, who looked, by the way, I'm so pissed off with what happened in fantasy with that, because he got 10 points for the first half, and then they just didn't fucking throw to him for the rest of the game after that. But anyway, doesn't matter. It wouldn't have mattered to my fantasy chances last week anyway. But and you have OBJ on the other side of that. Whereas with the Bills, they have Stephon Diggs. And that's a fucking great guy to have. They have Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. That's an amazing thing. Gabe Davis is shit, I've decided.
You guys are only saying that because you get mad at him in fantasy.
Gabe Davis would be a cracking wide receiver number 3. You're so right. Yeah. No. Their wide receiver room would look great, but they don't have that run game to open up the field as much.
But my argument to that is, as soon as you put OBJ on the other side of Stephon Diggs, now that run game totally opens up.
Interesting theory. I like that. But that would be interesting.
I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see what OBJ does. And whoever gets him, like, you're getting him for the playoffs, because the next few games are going to be getting him back in once he plays, so getting him back into shape, making sure his legs right, getting him to know an offense. So whoever signs him is signing him more for a playoff run than they are the regular season. Yeah,
definitely. I personally, actually, breaking it down like that, I actually do think the Cowboys are better than the Bills. I think the Cowboys would beat the Bills if we played today, is what I've taken away from this discussion.
I don't, but I don't have a problem with you feeling that way, and I don't think that is a homer thing to say.
Yeah, I do agree with OBJ, with your thesis, your idea on OBJ taking the easiest route to the Super Bowl, though. That's not the worst. Like, the Bills' road to the Super Bowl is a lot easier.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to fucking say? Because going into this year, we were like the Ravens, Cincinnati, fucking, what are the Browns going to be? Like, different
the
teams.
NFC East is probably one of the worst divisions in football still because of the Giants and the Commanders. Whereas
it's fucking weird. Like, you never know. League, it's so set up for parity, and it proves it every year. But all of us fans never take that into account when we start spewing off shit for the next year.
It's not out the realms of the possibility that the NFC East will be the first division to have all 4 teams go into the playoffs.
Well, yeah, and this is actually a year in the NFC. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if 5 different teams won the fucking NFC because we don't know like who shows up one day, what injury happens, because there's a lot of like good teams or at least close teams in the NFC. The 49ers could beat or lose to anybody in the playoffs.
Yeah. The 49ers are the wild card for me. Like, we know what we're going to get out of.
Me too.
Yeah. I think with Tampa, you know what you're going to get. Like, if you can't get to Tom Brady, you're probably fucked. But if you can get to Tom Brady, then you'll win, right? That's what'll happen with Tampa.
Yeah.
With the 49ers, because of their injury history, that's a difficult thing to know because of the way their just team runs in general. So everybody's going crazy for the 49ers win because they had a shutout on the Saints, which is incredible. Like, it's the first time the Saints have been shut out in 21 years or something like that. Great defensive play, but you only scored 13 points on what is effectively not a great defense either. Like, I don't think no matter how good your defense is, you're going to hold the Eagles to 0
game
points.
every year.
Yeah.
Like, they beat the
incredible.
Packers, 13-6 or something? I don't remember what the score was, but
yeah, they were like the 49ers are a wild card to me because one, that offense can put up 40 points if it wants to. Like, if you just look at it, it should be putting up 40 points a game, and it hasn't been. But then the defense is so great that it hasn't needed to. But against not great teams either, do you think they're going to hold? Like, do you think they're going to hold the Eagles and the Cowboys to like less than 17 points? Like,
I think it's possible.
It's 100% possible.
Nobody
See,
thought
that's
they
why
do
the
it to the
49ers.
Packers 2 years ago in the playoffs. Like,
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers was the league MVP. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why the 49ers
Adams was still there.
That's why the 49ers are just fucking crazy. Because also with the organization's injury history and the players that they've got that make them tick are injury prone by the looks of it, then you never know who's going to actually be there by the time they get there. But we don't know if the Eagles are regressing or whether it's just a mid-season slump because they've basically got their place in the playoffs sealed already. Like, we don't know what's happening with them. The Cowboys take every opportunity to fucking blow themselves up and shoot themselves in the foot every year. So we don't know how. Like, the Cowboys conceded 13 penalties in a 20-point blowout. Like,
the Vikings like to play 1-possession
win.
games.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the Vikings have a negative points differential whilst being 8-2 or whatever you guys are. 9-2.
Well, that's what happens on your 2 losses when you get your fucking ass kicked and you win 9 games by 1 score. Yeah. But then run defense, I think this week they were rated 11th. But pass defense, they were rated 31st. But turnover ratio, they were rated 4th. So, like, they're the weirdest team ever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you never know. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get out of this NFC. Whereas the AFC, you know, the Chiefs are great. The Chiefs are an absolute juggernaut who are moving the ball down the field with ease every time they seem to get it. Like, their defense is better than a lot of people give it credit for. And then you have, but I think they could lose to any of those teams that we've mentioned in the NFC.
Do you think there's any chance that OBJ signs with somebody who's not the 3 teams that have been mentioned? Or if you do, what percentage chance do you see OBJ signing with somebody other than the Bills, Giants, or Cowboys?
Imagine if he signed for the Chiefs.
That's what I was just thinking. So that's why I got that question.
He won't.
No, but I was thinking, what would he look like on the Chiefs? So
unbelievable. Like, that would be the get. Do you know what? Actually, OBJ should go to the Chiefs. Like, I don't know why he wouldn't.
Jerry Jones canceled your Cowboys fandom right there with that statement.
Yeah. It's, if OBJ wants to win a Super Bowl, his best route to doing it is by being a Chief. Like,
that's what made me think about. I think there's a 2% chance he signs with somebody else.
Yeah, I think there's some crazy cap shit with the Chiefs, right? Like, surely with the amount of free agents that they brought in this year, they must be struggling with the cap at some point. But it depends what you want. If you're OBJ, like, do you say I'll take $2 million to play in the playoffs this year and win a Super Bowl?
Right.
Yeah, but we'll see. I don't see any chat, like maybe 0.5% of a chance of him going with anybody else, just because of, like, especially with how strong the news is coming out of the Cowboys. Like, I think Jerry
if the
could go for a
Rams were
multi-year
any
deal.
good, it would be higher, but the Rams are no good, so he's not going back there.
If the Rams were any good, he'd already be a Ram right now. That's another thing with, like, just the football this season. The Super Bowl champs are already out of it. Who else is surprisingly bad? Arizona out of it. Like, there's some crazy. Oh, the
We
Broncos.
didn't think the Packers would be
are the
great,
one.
but they're fucking pretty awful.
Yeah. They're pretty bad. Yeah, the Broncos are like, what the fuck happened there?
Raiders,
Like,
what the fuck?
yeah, the Raiders look like they've turned it. The Raiders look like they might be on an upwards slant from now. Like, it's that Josh McDaniels dip, like, while everybody's getting used to it. And next season, I can see them going fucking wild.
So,
but yeah.
Before we talk about tonight's game, there's one game I wanted to hit on quick just because of everything around it. So we got Aaron Rodgers is playing against Justin Fields this week, because that's who I figured out that Justin Fields is. He's Vince Young.
Not Michael Vick.
No. Danny Dimes is closer to Michael Vick than Justin Fields. But don't talk about Vanilla Vick. That's Vanilla Vick in New York.
Justin Fields is 70% Michael Vick.
Well, I'll quit bashing.
He's Michael Vick if you chopped off Michael Vick's arms.
Dude, he's Vince Young. He's Vince Young. He can run and he can't throw. But
yeah, Michael Vick minus the arms equals Vince Young. That's the
equals
equation.
LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, but Rodgers has the Packers in a spot where the more I think about it, the less they can play Jordan Love unless he agrees, because he's got him by the balls for the next 2 years with that contract.
Yeah, 100%. But I think being injured, like, I think that injury last week, why does Rodgers want to play right now? That's what I think more about it. It's just like, man, fuck it.
He's a competitor?
This year.
Well, he's a competitor. I always wanted to play even when I was hurt, but I guess I was a kid, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what?
He probably thinks 60% of Aaron Rodgers is better than 100% of Jordan Love. He probably believes that.
Yeah, which it's difficult to disagree with, but why not have 100% Aaron Rodgers next year playing wherever you want to play?
And I know that it was at the end of a game by a team that was beating you by 14, but Jordan Love didn't help the conversation because he threw some fucking lasers in that game that made people go, I want to see what this kid can do.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, it's the end. The question is, does Aaron Rodgers want to be a Packer next year? And if he wants to be a Packer next year, it might be in his best interest to play, just in case Jordan Love is the shit. But if he doesn't want to be a Packer next year, or he's not too bothered about where he plays, and that Raiders spot immediately becomes open if he wants to be there, right? So you
would think, but does that now piss off Devontae because he went down to be with his college roommate Derek Carr?
Yeah.
Do you, as Josh McDaniels, even give a shit if it bothers Devontae? I don't know any of these things.
Or the 49ers, like, surely that 49ers door swings right open as soon as Aaron Rodgers wants to walk through it. You know what I mean? There's other options for him out there. Then it would be best for him to sit this year, go chill out in, I don't know, wherever you want to go. Like, go chill out in Peru and like, do loads of ayahuasca. Like, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, just for a while. Go host Jeopardy. Like, go do something like that. Like, while I've got a rib injury, it's the perfect opportunity to take a step back for the rest of the season where nothing's going to happen for you.
Or unless Rodgers is already going to retire and this is his last year and he just wants to play as much as he can.
Which is
before
fair
it's
enough.
over.
That would be a totally understandable reason to play. But I think it's in the pack. It's 100% in the Packers' best interest to sit Aaron Rodgers and see what they've got in Jordan Love.
Yeah, and he's got him by the balls because all he has to do is what Carson Palmer did to the fucking Bengals. Say, oh, you don't want to send me where I want to go? I retire, and then soon as the salary cap set and week 1 comes, you go, I'm back, and here's $50 million on your salary cap. So either cut half the team or trade me to where I want to go.
Yeah, like he could 100% do that. Like Aaron Rodgers is in a great situation. Do you know what? It's weird how a rib injury has put Aaron Rodgers in a better situation for next year. Like if that's what he decides he wants to take.
And that contract he got them to give him in the offseason, that really, like, you know what I mean? Last year? Whatever. This year? Yeah. Whenever they gave him the contract, it was like it was so much money guaranteed for the next few years that Rodgers had all the control.
Yeah, and it's like Aaron Rodgers now can just decide which way he wants to go. I genuinely believe it's in the Packers' best interest to not play Aaron Rodgers now and say, oh, because of his rib injury, he's not playing. And like, it only takes Aaron Rodgers to come out there and be like, no, I want to play it. Like, I really, really want to play, to say for the Packers to be fucked after that. Because as you've mentioned a couple of times on the podcast, people have bought tickets to watch Aaron Rodgers play. So
yeah,
if you're not going to play him, then yeah.
It's just a weird thing. On the flip side, and we'll give our predictions on Sunday, but on the flip side, do you think the Bears should be playing Justin Fields with that right shoulder separation? And the second he went down, I looked at my wife and said he just separated his left shoulder. Like the second he took that hit, the way it went. And that's his lead run shoulder. So should the Bears play him or should they sit him, in your opinion?
This might be the Bears' best opportunity to beat the Packers and get the curse off for the first time in forever, is where I look at it. And like, I understand, like Justin Fields is your running back of the future. Running back. I just said running back of the future.
Freudian slip, my guy. Freudian slip. Oh, Freud would be so proud right now.
That's it. Podcast over.
So you think it's their best chance of winning, though? Yeah.
The
you
Justin
think
Fields
winning
is
right now is that important though, because you could have
exactly
really high picks.
That's where I was going with that. It's how important is it for them to beat the Packers and get the monkey off their chest of beating the Packers? Because you see the Jets are still struggling with the Patriots syndrome. Like, this is their best opportunity to beat them in a long time. Like, this might be the chance to take it so you can go into next year and say, oh yeah, we're no longer owned by the Packers. This would be something that we've got to do. It's something that we've got to do. And obviously I'm taking quite a selfish stance on this for fantasy football purposes because I play against you this week as well. I hope they play him.
I made a joke that I should rest some players since I already locked up a bye.
Yeah. That's just because we're in different divisions, but you know, that's fine.
Oh, and that's because I got a better record than anybody in the league.
Yeah. I have the second highest point score.
As I pat myself on the back quick. Like, okay, yeah. I'm done.
We've seen KT's fourth in our division with the highest point score, like the highest points total. I have the second highest points total in our entire.
He needs me to beat Death's doorstep next week and then he'll be in if he can win out.
Yeah. You know, I'm also already in the playoffs.
Yeah, you and Duffy both.
Yeah, the Brit, we're going again. Let's run this shit back. But I feel like if I'm the Bears, I'm going, do you know what? If Justin Fields can train this week and if he looks okay, let's play him. Let's go for it. And if you get 10 snaps into the game and it looks like it's really affecting him, then fucking like sit the guy. Let's get surgery on his shoulder and come back next year.
If you believe he's the quarterback of the future, I think you sit him. Yeah. But that's just me. So if I was the head coach, I'd play the shit out of him.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's an injury it's probably going to require some surgery anyway. So how much worse can you make it?
I want them to get
by
the
playing
second
right
overall
now?
pick so we can really see what they feel about Justin Fields.
Interesting. Yeah, it's not a bad point. Like Justin Fields would be great in so many different organizations, though. Like do you know what? I also want them to get the second overall pick so that they then trade Justin Fields to the 49ers.
That's interesting because then the 49ers would be admitting they were wrong on Trey Lance before he even plays and really plays. I just wonder. I don't know if the 49ers would do that.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen with either. Like the Bears fans love Justin Fields too much. It's too late now. He's played
But you're the
too
new
well.
coach and the new GM. You didn't draft him, so we'll really see like what they think. That's some interesting off-season stuff. So before we get out of here, because we've been running an hour now, what do you think of tonight's game? It's the Bills, New England, and they're playing in Foxborough. The Bills are 3.5-point favorites, but here's what's really odd. They started at 4-point favorites. 80% of the money is on the Bills, which means the point spread should have went the other way, and it went down. So Vegas is leaning towards New England being closer than most people think. What do you think? 3.5-point spread. What are you thinking?
The Bills cover the spread is how I'm looking at this.
Me too.
Like that Bills defense is quality. Like the defensive line of the Bills defense is quality against that New England offensive line. I'm almost thinking with them, the best way to sort out this is by stopping the run on the way to the quarterback as they go through, because that New England run game is potentially dangerous. They get a lot of work out of their running backs in the backfield. And then obviously when you play defense like the New England Patriots play defense, then you've always got a chance to be in the game. You've always got a chance to win. They're not going to need to score that many points. But the Bills have had a couple of get-right games now. They will probably go back to their explosive best. I'm not seeing that they're going to score loads of points, but they've got enough on the defensive side of the ball where they don't need to score that many points either. So, yeah, Bills to cover the spread.
Yeah, and New England has 10 sacks at home this year, which is leading the NFL for home sacks. Judon's a beast, but I still think the Bills win by more than 3.5.
Okay. Yeah, that's like 6.5 points if you take away home field advantage as well, isn't it? So, like, that's where Vegas actually thinks it is. They maybe started off a bit high.
Yeah, and 80% of the money's on the Bills, and it went down, which is not the way the point spread usually goes because Vegas covers its ass and raises as the bets come in. So, yeah, it'll be I'm excited to see the game, though. At least it's a Thursday night game that I'm looking forward to seeing.
Oh my God, Amazon have been given something that's worth their money this year. But then it'll be a fucking 9 points to 3 game now that we've said that.
You know, but when they're close, even if 3 quarters suck, the fourth quarter becomes more interesting.
Yeah, 100%. I'd rather the games be close and low scoring than blowout. Like the Michigan versus Ohio State game, which is like won by 20 points. But
we hate Ohio State. We hate Ohio State. Fuck eyes. Fuck eyes. Okay. That's the only time I'll ever agree with a Michigan fan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I texted you saying that I like CJ Stroud, and you just didn't say anything.
I don't think I saw it then because I wouldn't have. I don't think I'd have just ignored you on it. Or I looked when I was really busy and forgot to message you back.
Yeah, that could have been it. I was just like, man, really does fucking hate anything to do with Ohio State. He just won't even like respond to that.
No, I don't mind him. I Ohio State is a running back factory. They have a receiver factory. They have good offensive linemen. And they have some of the worst quarterbacks that have ever hit the NFL in the first round.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. It is. I mean,
you're so right. You're so right. I can't even argue. I'm not even going to try.
All right. Well, shout out to Wisconsin for hiring Cincinnati's Luke Fickell. Great
Mhm.
hire. Shout out to Nebraska for getting Matt Rule. That's going to turn your fucking program
Yep.
around. So shout out to some college teams making some big moves. And you won't usually hear me say this, but since it's going to be the probably the college playoffs, unless something crazy happens, go Big Blue.
Go Big.
Yeah, I never cheered for Michigan, but man, they're the Big Ten team. They're not Ohio State. They're in the playoffs unless they shit the bed to Purdue, which shouldn't happen. They should crush
Yeah.
Purdue in the championship. So go Big Blue. Make sure you guys tune in Saturday for the World Cup as we kick the shit out of Netherlands, 4-0, as they say over there.
Mhm.
Okay,
Is that
that's
your
being
score
ridiculous.
prediction?
That's being
4-0.
ridiculous. I'm being
I
honest.
like
That's
it.
ridiculous. I was just being I'm ridiculous on all of it, but 4-0 was really, really ridiculous.
What's your score prediction?
1-0 US.
US. Okay. 3-1
And-
Netherlands.
Huh?
3-1 Netherlands.
Yeah, that's just some hater shit. Hey,
No, it's not. It's not. That's
Hey.
a legitimate guess.
England better hope we don't play them again because England has been known to blow a 13 colony lead. Okay, my bad.
All right.
All right,
I'm
guys,
gonna
we'll
give
be
a
back on
fuck anymore
Sunday to
anyway.
go over all the games. What'd you say, Maddie?
I don't give a fuck anymore anyway. The best fan base in the entire thing isn't there anymore. There's no point.
No,
I'll still be I'm half English, by the way, guys, so I'm supporting England from now.
I got two teams. I'm Maddie, but no,
I don't have two teams. I had one.
I'm just fucking with you. All right, guys, we'll be back Sunday with some more predictions. We'll go through some games, and we'll see if there's an OBJ sighting by then.
Not on an airplane causing any fucking trouble. We forgot to mention that. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that, but I definitely
Yeah,
do
yeah.
want to find out more about what happened.
Next time.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.